So let us take a few more C++ attribute and object-oriented PS paradigm questions. So what is container class and what are the types of container classes? A container class is a class that is used to hold objects in memory or external storage. So it is the name suggests that it is a container. For what? It holds the objects in memory or external storage. So a container class acts as a generic holder, and a container class has a predefined behavior and a well-known interface. A container class is a supporting class whose purpose is to hide topology used for maintaining the list of objects in the memory. So when a container class contains a group of mixed objects, the container is called the heterogeneous container, otherwise it is known as the homogeneous container. What is a protocol class? What do we mean by protocol class? And abstract class, you know about the abstract class. So an abstract class is a proto class when we are going to call the abstract class as protocol class. When it neither contains nor inherits from classes that contain member data, non-trivial functions, or private or protected members of any kind. Abstract class will become protocol class if it has non-inline virtual destructor defined with an empty implementation. An abstract class is a protocol class if all member functions other than the destructor, including the inherited functions, are declared pure. Virtual functions are left undefined. What is mixing class? Mixin class. A class that provides some but not all the implementation of a virtual base class is often called as mixin class. A class that provides some means it provides some but not all from a virtual base class. So derivation done just for the purpose of redefining the virtual function in the base classes is often called as the mixing class. Inheritance. Derivation done just for the purpose of redefining the virtual functions in the base class is often called as the mixin, M-I-X-I-N inheritance. So mixin classes typically don't share common bases. Next is what is concrete class. What is concrete class? A concrete class is used to define useful objects that can be instantiated as an automatic variable on the program stack. So the implementation of concrete class is defined, and the concrete class is not intended to be a base class and no attempt to minimize the dependency on other class in the implementation of behavior of the class. What is handle class? The handle class is a class that maintains a pointer to an object that is programmatically accessible through the public interface of the handle class. So, and the handle class is a class that maintains a pointer to an object that is programmatically accessible through the public interface of the handle class. Next is the explanation. In case of abstract classes, unless one manipulates the objects of these classes through pointers or references, the benefits of the advantage of the virtual function would be lost. So user code may become dependent on details of implementation classes because an abstract type cannot be allocated statically or on the stack without its size being known. So using pointers or references, it implies that the burden of memory management falls on the user. And another limitation of abstract class object is of fixed size. Classes, however, are used to represent concepts that require varying amounts of storage to implement them. So a popular technique to deal with these issues, which we just talked about, is to separate what is used as a single object in two parts. That is, a handle providing the user interface and a representation holding all or most of the object state. So the connection between the handle and the representation is typically a pointer in the handle. So often these handles have a bit more data than the simple representation pointer, but not much more. And the layout of the handle is typically stable even when the representation changes, and also the handles are small enough to move around relatively free so that the user didn't use the pointers or the references. What is action class? The simplest and most obvious way to specify an action in C++ is to write a function. The best is to write a function. But if the action has to be delayed, that is, has to be transmitted elsewhere before being performed, it requires its own data has to be combined with other actions. For example, we'll see the explanation now. Then it is often becomes attractive to provide the action in the form of a class that can execute the desired action and provide other services as well, because it would require that. So manipulators use with IO streams is an obvious example for action class. A common form of action class is a simple class containing just one virtual function. Okay, we have just one virtual function here. So given this, we can write code, say a member that can store actions for later execution without using the pointers to functions. So we don't require this, and without knowing anything about the objects which are involved, and without even knowing the names of the operation it invokes. For example, if this this is a code, and you can see that we have a class write file, and we also have a class which is error message, which inherits this action, which we just saw here. This is action. This is a class action, and this what we have done is this is a class with which is inherited public action and an error message which has again inherited public action. So in this, a user of this action class will be completely isolated from any knowledge of the derived class, such as the write file or error message. Right? I hope that you understood what I mean to say. When can you tell that a memory leak will occur? A memory leak occurs when the program loses the ability to free a block of dynamically allocated memory. A memory leak will occur. What is a parameterized type? Parameterized type. A template is a parameterized construct or a type containing generic code that can use or manipulate any type. You have seen this T in your template. It is called as parameterized because an actual type is a parameter of the code one. The polymorphism may be achieved through this parameterized type. So this type of polymorphism is called the parametric polymorphism. And parametric polymorphism is the mechanism by which the same code is used on different types passed as parameters. Differentiate between deep copy and shallow copy. Deep copy and shallow copy. Please understand it very carefully. This is a very loved question by the interviewers. Deep copy involves using the contents of one object to create another instance of the same class. In the deep copy, the two objects may contain the same information, but the target object will have its own buffers and resources. The destruction of either object will not affect the remaining object. The overloaded assignment operator will create a deep copy of the object. Let us see the shallow copy. Shallow copy involves copying the contents of one object into another instance of the same class, thus creating a mirror image. So, owing to the straight copying of references and pointers, the two objects will share the same externally contained contents of other object to be unwritten. Let me tell you. A deep copy means when you are trying to copy, the content of one object to create the another instance of the same class, then they both will have their own identity. But shallow copy means there will be only one object, and both will point to the same. This is the shallow copy. So this is done using the copy constructor. Okay. Copy constructor, and then this copy constructor does that, which is copying the content of one object to another. So using a copy constructor, we simply copy the data values member by member. So this method of copying is known as the shallow copy. This one is the shallow copy. So if the object is a simple class comprised of built-in types and no pointers, that would be acceptable. So this function uses the values on the objects and its behavior would not be altered with a shallow copy. Only the address of pointer that are members are copied and not the values of the address which is it pointing to. So data values of the object would then be inadvertently altered by the function. So when the function goes out of the scope, the copy of the object with all its data is popped off the stack. So if the object has any pointers, a deep copy needs to be executed. If the object has any pointers. So with the deep copy of an object, memory is allocated for the object in a free store, and the elements pointed to are copied. So a deep copy is used for objects that are written from a function. I hope you got the idea of deep copy and shallow copy now. What is opaque pointer? What do we mean by opaque pointer? A pointer is said to be opaque if the definition of the type to which it points to is not included in the current translation unit. A pointer is said to be opaque if the definition of the type to which it points to is not included in the current translation unit. So a translation unit is the result of merging an implementation file with all its headers and header files. What is a smart pointer? A smart pointer is an object that acts, looks, and feels like a normal pointer but offers some more functionality. In C++, the smart pointers are implemented as template classes that encapsulate a pointer and override standard pointer operators. So they have a number of advantages over regular pointers. They are guaranteed to be initialized as either null pointers or pointer to a heap object. And also the indirection through a null pointer is always checked. No delete is ever necessary, so objects are automatically freed when the last pointer to them has gone away. One significant problem with these smart pointer is But unlike these regular pointers, they don't respect inheritance. So smart pointers are unattractive for polymorphic code, and we can see an example for the implementation of smart pointers. I hope you got the idea of smart pointers. Smart pointers, you don't have to delete is ever necessary for smart pointer. They manage themselves. So even they are guaranteed to initialize as either null pointers or pointers to a heap object. So guarantee of being initialized as a null pointer, and there is no use or there is no necessity to ever free the memory for which we have assigned them. These are the duties of smart pointer. But the problem is with the inheritance and attractive and unattractive to polymorphic code also. This is a template. You have class X, class smart pointer. Okay. And this is the smart pointer. So this class implements a smart pointer to an object of type X. See, to an object of this is a class. We are making a smart pointer. So this class implements a smart pointer to an object of type X. This object itself is located on the heap. So if you want to use it, just you can do like this: smart pointer employee p is equal to employee some name, because we have these two things here, employee. So like other overloaded operators, p will behave like a regular pointer. Like you can see out star p, that the value at p. You can also call the function which is the raise salary function. So you can always do this. These are just an example. What I mean to say is that how we are able to deal with the smart pointer. What is reflexive association? Is he is a rich man. So like this kind of association. So the is called a reflexive association because the reflexive association permits classes to bear the is a association not only with their superclasses but also with themselves. So it differs from the specializes from or specializes from, as the specializes from is usually used to describe the association between the superclass and subclass. Okay, like printer is a printer. So this is a reflexive, that I am what I am. I am what I am. This is a reflexive association. This reflexive association permit class to bear the is association with not only superclasses but also themselves. Right? What is slicing? What is slicing? Slicing means that the data added by a subclass are discarded. Slicing means that the data added by a subclass are discarded when an object of the subclass is passed or returned by value or from a function expecting a base class object. Okay, let me tell you again. Slicing means that the data added by a subclass are discarded when an object of the subclass is passed or returned by value or from a function expecting a base class object. Just consider the following class declaration. You have a class base. You have a class base and you have a function base e equal to m and m equal to e. So as base, this base copy functions don't know anything about the derived class. Derived only the base part of the derived is copied. Right? This is commonly referred to as the slicing. So one reason to pass objects of a classes in a hierarchy is to avoid slicing. The other reasons are to preserve polymorphic behavior and to gain the efficiency. Okay. Please understand this very carefully because this is also a very good question. What is name mangling? Name mangling is just changing the name. It's kind of changing the name. So name mangling is the process through which your C++ compiler gives each function in your program a unique name. In C++, all programs have at least a few functions with the same name. So name mangling is a concession to the fact that linker always insists on all functions naming being unique. Let us take an example. Member names are made unique by concatenating the name of the member with that of the class. Okay, because this is a class bar, it has a value I value. So I will become something like this: ival underscore 3 bar. Okay, this is the name mangling. You have just changed the name. So you can also consider this class foo public bar. Now this would become ival. This ival 3 bar you have seen. Now ival 3 4. This internal representation of this FOO object is the concatenation of his base and derived members. This too. So unambiguous access of either I value members is achieved through name mangling. Member functions, because they can be overloaded, requires an extensive mangling to provide each with a unique name. Hence, the compiler generates the same name for the two overloaded instances. Their arguments list make their instances unique. Let me tell you again. What I'm trying to say is you have this class with I value as the class variable or a variable inside it. So I value is made like this. Now you have a class bar with I value, both are same. So what you're going to do, I value for 3 bar and I value for this foo, FO. So this is how a unique name is being given. What are proxy objects or surrogates? Objects that point to other objects are called object that points to the other object. They are proxy objects or surrogates. So it's an object that provides the same interface as its server object but do not have any functionality. And during a method invocation, it routes data to the true server object and sends back the return value to the object. So it's just a proxy object which is pointing to another object. Differentiate between declaration and definition in C++. A declaration introduces a name in the program. A definition provides the unique description of the entity, like the type, the instance, the function. So declarations can be repeated in a given scope. It introduces name in the given scope. There must be exactly one definition of every object. You cannot have multiple definition, function or class used in C program. So a declaration is a definition unless it declares a function without specifying its body. It contains an external specifier and no initializer or function body. It is the declaration of a static class data member without a class definition, or it is a class name definition. So it is a type def definition. So a definition of declaration. This is a declaration is a definition unless all these things are there, or a definition is a declaration unless it defines a static class data member or it defines a non-inline member function. What is cloning? What is cloning? Cloning, an object can carry out copying in two ways. That is, it can set itself to be a copy of another object, or it can return a copy of itself. So when it can return a copy of itself, the latter process, this process is called the cloning. This cloning, as we said, that an object can carry out copying in two ways. First is it can set itself to be a copy of another object, or it can return a copy of itself. This is the cloning, returning a copy of itself. Describe the main characteristics of static functions. The main characteristic of static functions is that it is without this operator, this pointer. It is without this pointer. It can't directly access the non-static member function of its class. Static function, it is without this pointer. It can't directly access the non-static member of its class. It can't be declared constant, volatile, or virtual. Static function can't be declared as constant, volatile, or virtual. And it doesn't need to be invoked through an object of its class, although for convenience it may. It doesn't need to be invoked through an object of its class. These are the main characteristics of static functions. Will the inline function be compiled as the inline function always? Justify. An inline function is a request. It is not a command. Again, inline function is a request, not a command. Hence, it won't be compiled as an inline function always. Inline expansion could fail if the inline function contains loops. The address of an inline function is used, or an inline function is called in a complex expression. This is the compiler discretion. So the rules for inlining are compiler dependent, right? So these were a few more questions and answers on C++ OOPS concept. We'll see a few more in one more session we have. Thank you so much.